everyone, this is Emily,
This is Stephanie.
and today we are doing another book review of the Six and Crows series.
Crooked Kingdom and Six of Crows.
And this duology has been actually quite interesting to read. So you want to start off to just kind of go over the summary list?
Yeah, so just before we start that, we are testing out these mics right now. So it
Yeah.
has these little like pop Funko thingies.
Yeah, these are Stephanie's. They're really cute.
Yeah.
But overall, yep.
Anyways, just want to clarify that. But yeah, so Six of Crows basically follows along the storyline. It's set in a different like world basically, and specifically a city called Ketterdam. And that city has, a bunch of thieves. It's kind of run by gangs, I would say, with like a nice district and then the rest of the city just like, free for all kind of thing. And Kaz, who is the main character in the story, gets gets involved with this heist and has to find a bunch of other people to help him complete this heist. And this heist is supposed to be like impossible basically. So the first story basically follows along him finding these people and then actually completing the heist, and the second story just follows along like the aftermath.
Yeah. So overall, I know that there has actually been a lot of book reviews and covering, like particularly the first book
and the second book as well, actually.
Yeah. So what we're going to kind of go into is just basically our overall impression of the story. So for me, I thought that overall, like it wasn't really an extremely original tale. I feel like it was a lot of like things that I've seen before in fantasy related stories. But when it really comes down to what actually made these books extremely entertaining to read, it has been more of like the writing, the characters. Yeah, and I think that overall, despite the fact that there's still a good element of tropes in the tale itself, I mostly found them to be valuable. Like there wasn't really any particular part of what appeared, what conflicts occurred, I guess what settings that happened, the world building that really stood out to me as purely just author indulgence. Yeah.
Okay. So for me, I would say that in the beginning I was a little confused with what was going on, just because it just throws you in. The first chapter I was just like, what? Like I'm super confused. Like what are these? So it definitely took me like a few chapters to be like get immersed in the story itself, like the world building aspect of it. And then once I got into it, I thought it was like smooth sailing from there. It was very fast read. I really like the characters specifically. Like I would agree with what Emily said about the whole. It's not particularly original in terms of the story plot. But in terms of character and the writing, I think that was like top notch, just because all of the characters were really, really well developed and really well written. There weren't any characters really that I felt were lacking. Specifically, like the main characters, like the 6 or 7 main characters in the book. Obviously the secondary characters as well. They're secondary, but like the main ones, I think they were really well portrayed.
Yeah. I'd say that some, I guess, real recommendations about how to read this book. I would say that it kind of comes along with the territory of fantasy sometimes, that you kind of need a character tree. And what was interesting with this book is that in the beginning, it's not really supplied to you. That usually there's like this, I guess, like you kind of like family tree diagram, but in this case, given the nature of the stories, it's about being a heist, and these people aren't really affiliated with each other than through the job. There wasn't really that guidance to go along with it, but if you wanted to happen to make your own, that would probably clarify a lot of things as well if you're like a really serious reader.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was one thing I actually thought was a little bit misleading, because it seems like from the synopsis that these are people who've never been a part of Kaz's life. These are people that he like went out of his way to seek through. But reality was, these are people who's already been in a gang with him. So they've worked with him in the past. He just had to tell them, hey, I have a heist, let's go.
Yeah, so I definitely say that element was a little misleading.
Yeah.
And I don't think it really took away the thrill of reading the stories themselves.
No, of course not.
But it did give me, there was kind of like I guess, like a misunderstanding on my part, because
Right.
I thought perhaps like the first book would be going into like this guy trying to convince these
Yeah, me
particular
too. Me too.
separate, maybe like maybe he knows them but they don't know each other,
Mm-hmm.
etc., and then having to like make them into a team, which it
Right.
by itself is actually a really
Yeah.
compelling storyline, but that
And the
wasn't really
second
what
one was going to be
happened.
like the actual heist, but
Yeah.
that wasn't the case at all.
Although, like, if someone were to write it in that fashion, I would totally read it still,
Yeah.
because I think both of those storylines really do have a lot of compelling angles and arcs to really
Mm-hmm.
like even go through.
Right, right. Which book did you like better? The first or second?
I think I actually preferred the first.
Yeah, I think I prefer the first as well. The second book, I was like, all right, I feel like this is just like I understand there's the aftermath, but I feel like this was a not necessary. It wasn't necessary
For a sequel.
for a sequel. It was like if she had tweaked the first book a little bit, it would have been completely a standalone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the second one was just like because something didn't happen the way it did, and then that's why there's an aftermath, sequel story. But like if so that's why I was kind of like, all right, like I get it, but and then this one I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this. But I would say the second book did a good job in wrapping everything up.
Okay.
Just because, especially at the end, the ending was a very good conclusion with all the characters. The only thing I think they missed was like Nina's story.
Okay.
I was kind of like, oh, because they kind of gave like an epilogue for every person except for Nina.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, I would have liked to know if she had made it to her destination and like whatever, like what ultimately happened to her, because clearly for everyone else there was a little bit of like info, but not for her. So
Okay, so for me personally, yeah, I preferred the first book. I felt like that was the most complete edition among the two, and yeah, in general, I appreciate the world though. In general, like Carundum, like Ketterdam,
Ketterdam, I don't
Ketterdam,
know.
yeah, Ketterdam, because I also heard that it was mostly influenced by a lot of like Russian literature, and I kind of could definitely see that. One thing I really did like about the writing itself was that I feel like each chapter kind of ended on like an astonishingly good like cliffhanger note. I came to really appreciate her style of writing, just because it was so easy to sort of digest and understand, and the craft that kind of went into trying to tell where each character was, their psyche, etc. And she never really made the dynamic, especially romantic ones, very obvious to the readers, which is always like part of the attraction of those sort of storylines, right? Like you don't want to be told that someone likes someone. You want to be like given hints and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Another thing I want to mention about the whole, like you said, the world building. So I was, so like this book mostly takes place in Ketterdam, but for the first book, it also took place in Frisian.
Yeah.
Like the world that, like the place where Matthias is from.
Okay.
So I was really wondering if that was like kind of like the author took aspect from Scandinavia.
Yeah.
Because the way how they sound, like, way how she made that place sound, plus like the food that they always eat, they're just like, oh yeah, like herring. And I'm like, oh my god, that's so Scandinavian. That's all they eat there. Salmon and herring. And like their whole like physical appearance too, like the whole like blonde hair, blue eyes, like very like fair features. I was just like, I think this is like kind of from the Scandinavia region in general.
Generally, it's impossible to world build without sort of like a starting point,
right,
and just taking stuff from our real world.
But actually, all the characters, I really like Inej.
Okay.
I honestly these names I'm like really hard to pronounce. Like,
yeah.
So, oh yeah, those two are the most complicated. Matthias and Inej.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I really like her. I think like I liked her background, how that she used to be an acrobat and stuff like that. And so I liked the way how she's always able to, like, she's called like the wraith, so she's always able to sneak up on people. Like I thought that was really cool in general. So I liked her the most. And then like the whole relationship between like her and Kaz. I was kind of like, should I be rooting for them or should I not be rooting for them?
Yeah, it's hard to tell, right? Yeah. Which actually makes obviously these two books very compelling reads. So yeah. But yeah, I generally love the covers. I think the overall theme of the Raven is pretty on point.
Yeah.
And yeah, just generally the coloring. Look at that, it's like gray and then gold.
Yeah, and then actually after I told my friends that I had read this book, they recommended that I finish the Grisha trilogy as well. So which actually takes place prior to this story.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna check them out. Hopefully we'll read them and review them.
Yeah, definitely. So I think overall that's as much as I had to say about the series because there's so much already out there.
And I don't think we want to really spoil anything.
Yeah.
Just because it's very rich in detail, and going even further will probably just not be the greatest, just because we want you to experience it as much as we did. So, but yeah, overall though, like I really enjoy these books. The first book I think was by far better. Not, but the second book was also really good as well, but in different ways. So.
Yeah. So overall, if you liked our review and have any other additional comments in regards to the Six of Crows duology, please comment down below. And also remember to subscribe to us as we each week have new book-related content and discussions.
And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Yep. All right. Thanks, you guys.
All right, everyone. Bye.
Bye.